Hi everyone, I'm Sheer, your Navigate Architecture Product Manager, and I'm so excited for our new June release of all our Navigate for Revit products for both the 2023 and 2024 Revit versions. Today I'm going to go over both Navigate Architecture and Navigate Accelerate, the new features, improvements, and fixes to our June 2024 release. Let's start off with Navigate Architecture. We have 3 improvements. One is to the descriptions of our tooltips. Our tooltips have been improved for every single one of the features in Navigate Architecture to help better explain the tool's purpose and provide relevant instructions and tips for how to use the features more efficiently. Next is the improvement to the door and window drawings. We have now included the ability to create door and window drawings for curtain panel doors and curtain panel windows. Lastly is the improvement to the slope arrow, which now automatically adjusts for imperial and metric projects based off of your project units. We also have a few fixes that were added to this release for our Create Coverings feature, our Room Surface feature, Manage Door and Window UIDs, and lastly, the Room Drawings feature. Let's dive in and see these improvements and fixes in action. As I mentioned, the first improvement is to our tooltips. Now, when you hover over any of our features, you're provided with more detailed instructions, tips and tricks, notes on how to better use these features and be more efficient in using them. Next is the improvement to our door and window drawings that now include the ability to create door and window drawings for curtain panel doors and windows. In this project, I have a few curtain panel doors and windows, as you can see here. I have a few curtain walls with doors in them, and I'm going to use the example for creating my door drawings, although this also works for window drawings. I have my schedule here that's going to include all my doors, including my 2 different types of curtain panel doors. Previously, if I would pull up the feature, even if my Revit schedule had curtain panel doors or windows in them, they wouldn't appear in the feature. They would automatically be filtered out. Now, as you can see, they do appear in my door drawings feature, and I'll be able to create the views, schedules, tags, dimensions, and sheets, including those curtain panel doors or windows. Let's run the command and see how our curtain panel doors are added to our door drawing sheet. All right, our drawings were created. Let's take a look at them. So as you can see, all the views were created, as well as for both my curtain panel doors. So here you can see that this is a curtain panel door. The plans were created, the elevations were created, the dimensions were placed, the plans were tagged, and the schedules were created for all my doors, including my curtain panel doors. And the last improvement is to our roof slope feature. Previously, the roof slope feature only provided an annotation family in metric units, and if you were working in the imperial units, you would have to modify that annotation family for imperial units. Now we provide both imperial and metric, and it automatically adjusts based off of the project units. Currently, my project units is in metric, which is how it worked previously, where if I would pull up the slope arrow feature and wanted to use it, it was available in metric units, as you can see here on the screen. Now, if I switch my project units to imperial, it will automatically identify what the project unit is and switch the annotation for imperial units. As you can see on the screen, it now shows in fractional feet and inches. Now that we covered the improvements, let's take a look at some of the fixes. The first fix is with our Create Coverings feature. Previously, if we tried to use the Create Covering feature to create walls with a short base offset, it wouldn't automatically join with the main walls. Now, if I use the feature to create walls with a small offset there is no issues and it will automatically join. For example, if I set my offset to be, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch, then we will still be able to automatically join as long as we have the option join with main wall toggled on. Once we run this feature, we'll be able to see that it does join because our door will penetrate both walls. That is a great improvement. Next is the improvement to our room surface feature, where previously we had issues with exporting if there were room separation lines in the project. As you can see, I do have a series of room separation lines in my project, and I will be able to run the export room surface feature without any issues. I was able to export all my rooms, including rooms that are defined by room separation lines. The next fix is with both the door manage UIDs and window manage UIDs, although I will show the door manage UIDs, and that is with the checking or toggling of the lock and exclude options and using our filters. Previously, if I toggled some of these on and then changed my filter prior to hitting OK, it wouldn't remember which elements I had checked on or off. Now I can turn on my filters, change my filters, adjust them in any way, and these remain checked, and I can hit OK, and it will run correctly and remember which were checked and which weren't. The last improvement is with the room drawings feature. Previously, we were having duplicate views being created for ceiling plans, as well as the crop of our 3D views or axons not being correctly cropped to our rooms if the walls extended past the rooms. This has been fixed, so now when I run my room drawings feature, I don't have any duplicate views for my ceiling plans and my 3D views are cropped correctly. Let's take a look at our room drawings that are created. Now my sheets were created, my 3D views were cropped properly, and no duplicate ceiling plans were created. And there you have it. Those are the new improvements and fixes to Navigate Architecture for our June 2024 release. Now that we finished talking about Navigate Architecture, let's move on to the new features and fixes for Navigate Accelerate's June release. Again, this is for both the Revit 2024 and 2023 versions. We have one new feature, Navigate Accelerate, to remove schemas. Now, if you don't know what a schema is, don't worry. I'm about to explain it. Essentially, many Revit plugins, including Navigate, use Documents Extensible Storage to store various settings for different features within the Revit project. And these settings are referred to as schemas. And so now we give you the ability to remove any unwanted schemas from both your open document or from open families. We also have a variety of fixes to the Edit Parameter Values feature, Find and Replace, Room Elevations, View Template Manager, Place Views, and the Advanced Parameter Manager. All right, let's dive in and take a look at this new feature and fixes in action. The new Remove Schemas feature is located in Navigate Accelerate's Manage Project toolbar. Here we have the Remove Schemas feature all the way on the right-hand side. Once opened, you'll get a warning. Many Revit plugins use Documents Extensible Storage to store settings for a variety of features. These settings are referred to as schemas. When opting to purge schemas from the document, you will remove all associated settings stored in the document. Schemas are removed only from the open document and not from loadable families, so please note that you should perform this on a detached model, or obviously make sure you save a copy of your model before purging any schemas, as you might be purging settings that you need. Once you've read it, you can accept and continue. Then you get a list of all the schemas in your project. As you can see, I have many schemas, whether they're from Naviate or other plugins. They are all listed here. I can check all, I can check none. I can individually select which schemas to remove and simply select OK, which will remove them, or cancel. I will click OK, and those schemas are purged from the document. Now that we have our new feature covered, let's look at some of the fixes in Naviate Accelerate. The first fix is a small fix to our edit parameter values feature. This is one of the most used features in Naviate Accelerate, so I'm pretty excited to make it a little bit easier to use. The fix is with the category selection drop-down menu. It now is wider or longer to allow you to see the entire name of every single category, including the categories that have longer names like these. You can now see the entire name and it's no longer cut off. Small fix, but will really be helpful. The next fix is to the find and replace feature, which previously had issues if it was trying to be run on an element with no value or a parameter with no value. For example, if I was selecting my doors and wanted to do a find and replace on the comments parameter that has no value, it wouldn't work. Now I can run it without any issues and select the comments parameter, and even if I have a value that I know is not there, it's not going to do anything, but it won't crash either. However, if I did want to replace all values that didn't have anything in it with something that did, it will also work. Now let's move on to the next fix, which is actually, to many of you, might seem like a new feature because it was only available in the US region toolbar and not in all regions. We now made it available to all regions, which is the room elevation feature located in the Sheets and View tab. Here we have the room elevation features, which is actually two parts. One is the button in the toolbar and the other is the settings in this drop down. Here I can specify which view type to use when creating these room elevations. I'm going to turn on elevations to be visible in this view so we can see them being created. And then you can select rooms to create interior elevations for. This feature is selection based, so I can select one or more than one room to create interior elevations for, and simply select the room elevation feature and it'll automatically create north, south, east, west elevations of those rooms. The next improvement is to the View Template Manager. The View Template Manager is located in the Manage Project tab. Here we can open the View Template Manager and the filtering for our columns have been improved to support multiple filters simultaneously. For example, I can select both floor plans and elevations in this filter and come over to this filter to select, for example, just structural plans, and we can see that it will support the filtering in both columns, making it easier to find the view templates needing to be modified. Next is the improvement to place views. We're going back to our Sheets and Views tab to the Place Views feature. This feature allows us to place views on sheets. But previously, when we tried to select multiple views in our tree browser using Shift on our keyboard, it didn't work properly. It would only select the first and last view, even with selecting Shift. But now, if I use the Shift on my keyboard to select all the views will appear in our data grid, and you'll be able to fill out all the information to place them on the sheet. The last improvement is with the Advanced Parameter Manager located in the Manage Project tab. Now the Advanced Parameter Manager's duplicate diagnosis has been improved to only show duplicates of parameters that are in the project. If I turn on shared parameters and turn on my duplicate diagnosis, we'll be able to get a more refined list of parameters with the same name and how many duplicates there are. So then I can filter to find that parameter and choose to either keep it or delete it from the project. And there you have it. Those are all the improvements to Naviate Accelerate's June 2024 release.